thank you for sharing that story, and it's certainly very powerful. And we spent a few days today talking about this fundamental care. The thing that resonates... Oh, sorry, my name's Jim.
Yeah, we match.
The thing that resonates for me when you said they ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Now, we had a lot of discussions today about the very reasonable, sensible, normal things, but different people want different things.
Yeah.
What are the right questions?
Well, that's... yeah, no, that's a lovely question, and that's really my point about how you may step into the world of the person that you're dealing with. And empathy is an amazing blessing. But I think...
As a person who has 6 or 8 of you to care for,
yeah,
in our 8, 10 or 12 shift,
yeah,
what is it for you that means you feel that connection when you walk into the room? What can we do?
Yeah.
Because we have to teach this, and it's not enough just to learn it by experience. You don't want the people who learn it by experience. You want the person who knows what to do when they walk in.
Yeah.
So what is it that we have to do?
Yeah, well, it's the first thing is focus, really. Is full attention on the patient, and then it's asking just open questions, really, as to what was your day like, or and just I do it so naturally, so it's sometimes difficult to teach, but it really is watching body language of the person that you're talking to, and listening for things like sighs. So someone sighs, they go, say, okay, well that was a big sigh. What was going on there? Tell me about that. And because what you're doing there is you're reflecting back someone's world, it is such a powerful thing, but it's such a small thing that you can build such deep rapport. And also playing back language. So someone can say, that was terrible, or that was really good. So tell me more about that. So what they're doing is they go back into their own experience and then expressing more about it. Am I answering your question? How to teach it?
17, 18, 19-year-old kids at school to be nurses.
Yeah.
So that when they're 20 or 21 and they come on the ward
yeah.
and they're caring for you.
Yeah.
Yes, they won't have the life experience, they won't
yeah.
have the life experience, but there is a skill. I absolutely agree with you. There's a skill that people have. But the difficulty is to pick the eyes out of whatever it is so we can teach them what.
I think if you're looking at something so fundamental, I would say we all have ability to run films, to picture stuff. I think that's one of our sort of strongest things. Is actually to get them to visualize what it's like to be like whatever condition you're dealing with. My mother was a leading light in tuberculosis. She was a chest physician, and she used to teach workshops to nurses or trainees around breathing difficulty and emphysema. And she used to get people to breathe through a straw. I don't know if you've ever done that. It's horrific. And that replicates the sense of what it's like, gives some concept of what. There's, I was talking to my wife about this, is there something about, with stroke patients, that you actually take students and bind half their leg?
That whole thing that we used to think was a bit wanky, like physically making someone do it.
And there is something about that, because if suddenly I bind up your right hand and your arm, my arm was like this, it was just hanging like that, right? And I couldn't walk. That was my world. And I sat in a chair. My world was like this. So if you've got a student to sit in a chair and get their arm, just imagine it completely paralysed, with their arm completely paralysed, sitting and saying, okay, so every time you go to the toilet, want to go to the toilet, you've now got to ring this bell. For them to experience that for even 15 minutes is... Because if I think about the switch over from when I had the stroke, and you'll know this as experienced nurses, is it's a nanosecond flip over. It's like flicking a switch, isn't it? So I'm walking around normally. Very sadly, the bit I didn't tell you, I was actually burying the cat when this happened. That's how awful it was. My good companion who used to lie underneath the desk, and because I work for myself. So I was digging this hole and I got pins and needles down my right side. And it wasn't like the fast abs. I just for a minute felt unwell. And then I began to walk like I was a bit drunk. And I thought I'd pulled a muscle in my back. But I felt fine. And it was only until I got to the hospital that I went and did a safety belt and my arm was like that. So that switch, that change was just so quick. I think that would work. Show them the diving bell and the butterfly. Anybody seen that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, there's films and stuff like that where, unless you were so insensitive, you kind of just step into the character and feel it, and just know how desperate that must be. You know, for your mind to be fine and your body just to be. So I think there's stuff. Am I helping you? Am I? Yeah.
I really appreciate it, because we've threshed this out for a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And basically what it came down to was, how can you know, we know every patient is different, and we know that what they want is different.
Yep.
Some patients want the Tesco, go in, go out, get out of here, I
Yep.
don't need a relationship. Some people need to think of, how do you know who is what, and what are the right questions to ask?
Yeah.
And so they were the things that I was asking, so yes, I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, you're very welcome. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
It's not really a question, it's partly a comment, and I'd be interested to hear your views. I looked after a gentleman a couple of years ago who'd been a patient on and off for quite a few years himself. And he said he could tell just by the way that somebody walked into his room what they were going to be like.
Yeah.
Whether they spoke or anything. And I'd be interested in your views, whether
Absolutely.
that resonates with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he couldn't explain what it was, but he said it was obviously something to do with either the authority or the trend or something like that. But he could tell.
In NLP we call it resource state. It's how someone carries themselves.
Yeah.
Here's a fun exercise for you. Next time you're in a hospital, follow somebody and walk exactly as they do. Exactly, and I mean exactly. I mean exactly the way, and if you could see how they're breathing and the whole stance and everything, assume that physiology and hold that physiology for a good 5-10 minutes and just notice the learning from that. It is amazing. Because what is running in a person's body is reflected in their physiology, right? So by you adopting that, you will feel what they're feeling. You will get a sense of what they're feeling. And I did this with a whole bunch of stroke nurses, and they thought I was completely barking. And I went, okay, you're going to follow each other around the building. And they went, what? I went, just do it. It is incredible. And they went, wow, that is incredible. What's going on? It's because what we run in our head and what we run in our body, on our energy level, and our sense of knowing, if you like, comes across in the way in which we hold ourselves. I'm just going to add to that, actually. I was talking to my daughter about this last night. I'm kind of super sensitive to this. I mean, I have my training, but then I'm very sensitive. So I can kind of feel characters, you know, across 20 yards. And yeah. And there was no, not literally.
We've been sitting next to you.
Yeah, my hands are here. And there were two tea shifts. People who come along with the tea, yeah. And you like this story, don't you? And there was one really grumpy one. You know, it's kind of tea, coffee, tea, and it's like, okay, I have a cup of tea. Could I have a large one? No large cups. Okay, right, no large cups. And she's like misery personified. It's like, what can I say to you? Look, it's sunny, is it? Okay. And then in contrast, there was this wonderful man. He used to come in and he kind of just radiated this warmth and just energy. And he would come in and he'd know almost how to kind of temper his energy level. So if you could see I was feeling really rotten, he'd go, "Hi Governor, it's not so good today." And I go, "No, not so good today." He'd go, "Let's give you a nice cup of tea." It was that. And then once he came into my room and I was feeling really rough, and he had to clean the windows and stuff, and he just cleaned the windows and he said nothing, but he just made me feel better. And there's something almost primitive really about how we communicate. We radiate stuff. And this is what I try to get over to health professionals in my training, is notice the impact that you make on other people as you walk into a room. That you can make someone feel so much better. And this is why I want to kind of really, cut through this whole belief system around time. I don't think it's time. I really do not think it's time. It is focus. So if I come in, I focus my attention on you. And my question I'm running in my head and my body, my whole sense is, how can I help you? How can I serve you? That's going to come through, isn't it? It's bound to. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Yeah, sure.
Because now I'm a bit worried.
Are you?
Yes. Because I've been in oncology care for 25 years.
Okay.
And I know that I haven't been all focused for 25 years.
No, of course not.
So
No.
my question to you is, because we have a saying in Sweden that you can never make, you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
My question to you is, do I get a second chance? If I fail, if I'm not totally focused when I come to you as a nurse, because I know that I haven't been all focused every day, do I get a second chance?
Oh, and again, I would say yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because that's important, because I
Yeah, no, absolutely.
home,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
No, absolutely. And
All the wrong things I've made.
yeah, and it's
good to hear that we get a second chance.
yeah, no, absolutely, and it's about acknowledging that, and then you can say that to the patient. Say, look, yesterday was horrible. I dropped my dinner all over my car or whatever it is. And people know that we're all human and we have days, we have good days and bad days.
But do you want us to tell you that? I'm sorry, I'm not totally focused on you today, or?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that's better than kind of... Because that's horrible for a patient, And the nurse takes my arm and, it's like a piece of meat, and she puts it in the blood pressure thing, and it's like, she's huffing and puffing. It's like, where are you? Go and have a tea break. And then come back and deal with my arm nicely. I think, yeah.